Oh my God, they got Amanda.
What? Now, the next part is very important. They're going to take you.
Kim, stay focused, baby. This is key.
I think they're...
I don't know who you are. I don't know what you want. I can tell you I don't have money, but what I do have are a very particular set of skills. Skills that make me a nightmare for people like you. I will find you. And I will kill you.
In today's video, we're going to talk about a film titled Taken. This movie follows a former CIA operative who must rescue his only daughter after she's kidnapped by an Albanian human trafficking syndicate. Without further ado, let's dive straight into the story. The film opens with the story of Bryan Mills, a retired Special Forces operative. He has a daughter named Kim Mills from his marriage with his ex-wife, Lenny. Their marriage ended in divorce because Bryan was always consumed by his duties with the CIA, leaving him with almost no time for his family. One day, Bryan goes to Kim's 17th birthday party. At the event, he also meets his ex-wife, Lenore, who now goes by a different name after separating from him. Not long after, Kim walks over to them to receive a gift from her father. The gift is a karaoke machine to help her practice singing, because she has loved singing since she was a child. Bryan also knows that Kim dreams of becoming a singer. Not long after, a man comes out with a horse, which turns out to be another gift for Kim. The man's name is Stuart, the new husband of Lenore. Bryan looks a bit disappointed because Kim leaves his present behind. It seems like she is more interested in the gift from Stuart. Later that night at home, Bryan looks through an old photo album of Kim when she was little. He can't believe that his little girl has grown into such a beautiful teenager. Not long after, Bryan's friends arrive at his house to celebrate Kim's birthday. As they are about to head home, Bryan's friend Sam offers him a job as a bodyguard for a famous singer named Shearer. Bryan accepts the offer, thinking that Kim would be proud of him if her father worked closely with a celebrity. The next day, Bryan and his team are seen escorting Shearer. Bryan follows her into a room, where he becomes impressed by her voice as she warms up her vocals. After everything is ready, Shearer prepares to go on stage. Suddenly, Bryan tells her that he has a daughter who wants to become a singer, and he asks if she has any good advice. Shearer replies, "I tell her to find another career." While Bryan and his friends are relaxing, his phone suddenly rings. It's Kim calling. She invites her father to have lunch together. During their conversation, Bryan tries to tell Kim about his new job as a bodyguard for a famous singer. After the call ends, Bryan's co-workers congratulate him. They can see that his relationship with Kim is starting to improve, and that Bryan now has more time to spend with her after retiring. When the event ends, chaos breaks out in the middle of the concert after fans force their way through the entrance and start chasing Shearer, their idol. Because Bryan managed to save her life, Shearer offers free vocal lessons for his daughter as a way to thank him. The next day, Bryan arrives at the restaurant to have lunch with Kim as they planned. Kim also brings her mother, Lenore. It turns out Kim wants to meet him because she hopes to get his permission to go to Paris with her friend Amanda. They plan to visit the Picasso Museum. Bryan becomes very worried because Kim will be traveling without any family or even an adult to accompany her, and she is still under 18 years old. At first, Bryan refuses to let her go, but Lenore keeps pressuring him to sign the permission form. Kim also tells him that Amanda's cousin will be there to look after them. Even so, Bryan is still worried because Kim doesn't really know anything about the outside world yet. Feeling disappointed with Bryan's decision, Kim gets up and leaves the restaurant, walking away from him. After thinking it over, Bryan goes to Lenore's house to tell Kim that he has finally given her his permission. Overjoyed, Kim hugs Bryan and immediately calls Amanda to share the good news. Kim then heads to the airport, accompanied by Bryan and Lenore. When they reach the entrance, Bryan helps carry Kim's suitcase. By accident, he discovers that Kim has lied to him. Their trip is not just to Paris. In reality, Kim and Amanda plan to follow a rock band's concert tour across Europe.
You know about this? What is this?
Even though he feels uneasy, Bryan still lets them go to Paris. He doesn't want his daughter to be disappointed in him.
Love you.
After arriving in Paris, Kim and Amanda meet a young man named Peter. He offers to share a taxi with them because the taxis there are quite expensive. At first, Kim is suspicious and doesn't want to agree, but Amanda convinces her that this is their lucky chance. But Peter actually has bad intentions. He only wants to know where they are staying. After getting the information, he calls someone and gives them the address and the floor of Amanda and Kim's apartment. Not long after, several criminals break into the place to kidnap both of them. Bryan quickly tells Kim to stay calm and instructs her to hide under the bed.
They're going to take you.
Kim, stay focused, baby. This is key.
Then Bryan hears footsteps coming toward Kim. He tells Kim to describe the kidnapper's appearance, so it will be easier for him to track them down. As Kim is grabbed by the kidnapper, she quickly tells Bryan the man's physical features before she is taken away.
I will find you.
Good luck.
After the incident, Bryan immediately goes to Lenore's house and tells her that their daughter has been kidnapped. Bryan then gathers several documents to find out where Kim and Amanda were staying. He is also helped by Sam, who provides information about human trafficking operations in Paris. Sam also warns him that they only have 96 hours to find Kim and Amanda. If they fail to locate them within that time, they will likely never be found.
No, baby.
Bryan immediately flies to Paris. When he arrives, he goes straight to the apartment owned by Amanda's relatives and forces his way inside. While looking around the apartment, Bryan imagines how the kidnapping must have happened. He then finds Kim's phone, which is already broken. Luckily, the memory card is still inside. When he checks the photos on it, Bryan clearly sees Peter's face reflected in a glass window while he was taking a picture of Amanda and Kim at the airport. After identifying Peter, Bryan returns to the airport to look for him. There, he spots Peter again, this time targeting another woman as his next victim.
Hi,
I'm Peter.
I'm Ingrid.
He then asks Peter about the whereabouts of Amanda and Kim, who arrived in Paris 2 days earlier. Bryan has to leave without getting any information because Peter is killed after being hit by a car. To find his next lead, Bryan contacts an old colleague, a former Paris intelligence agent named Jean-Claude Petrel. Jean tells Bryan that he now works in a different division and advises him not to get involved, telling him to go back home. Still, he gives Bryan a small clue. If he wants to continue, he should start his search in the local red light district. When he arrives, Bryan pretends to be a customer looking to buy a woman. Once inside the brothel, he immediately searches for Kim. As he opens the curtains of each room one by one, he suddenly spots the jacket Kim was wearing before she was taken, but the woman wearing it is not Kim. Bryan then asks her where she got the jacket. To get more information, Bryan then takes the woman with him. After escaping, Bryan rents a room to take care of the woman. She is still suffering from the effects of the drugs that were forcibly injected into her by the kidnappers. Not long after, Jean calls Bryan and says he wants to meet and talk. Bryan, who has been watching their movements from a tower, easily manages to outsmart Jean and his men. It turns out Jean was trying to trap Bryan, but Bryan already knew about his plan. After that, Bryan returns to the hotel. The woman he rescued starts to wake up, and Bryan asks her again where she got the jacket. She tells him that the last place she went to was a club called Paradise. She also explains that Kim gave her the jacket because she was feeling very cold. Without wasting any time, Bryan goes straight to the place. He disguises himself as Jean-Claude Petrel, pretending to renegotiate their protection deal with the police. After pretending to collect their security payment, Bryan asks them if there is someone there named Marco from Trafficking. The criminals all claim that they are Marco from Trafficking. Bryan then asks one of the men to translate a note that was written earlier. When the man begins to speak, Bryan instantly recognizes his voice, the same voice that said a good luck.
Good luck. Good luck. Good luck.
You don't remember me.
Before leaving, Bryan searches the rooms where the women are being held. He then finds Amanda, who has already died from an overdose. After that, Marco is captured and tied up in a warehouse. Marco's interrogation becomes very brutal because he still refuses to give any information about Kim. After being electrocuted several times, he finally starts talking. He says that virgins are extremely valuable, which is why they sold Kim. He also reveals that the leader of their criminal organization is a man named Patrice St. Clair. Bryan then leaves the warehouse, but he keeps the electricity running as he walks away. To get more information about Patrice St. Clair, Bryan goes to Jean's house. Jean's wife warmly welcomes him. When Jean comes home, he is surprised to see Bryan there. He takes a moment to bring his children to their room, then goes to the bathroom to secretly take a gun. Jean and Bryan sit at the dining table to talk. Jean's wife becomes confused because she doesn't understand what they are discussing. The situation grows tense and an argument breaks out. Jean refuses to tell Bryan anything. Jean suddenly points his gun at Bryan, but luckily the bullets had already been removed by Bryan earlier. Bryan then threatens Jean, saying that his family will be the next target if Kim is not found. Bryan shoots Jean's wife in the arm, putting Jean in a corner. With no other choice, Jean finally reveals the location of Patrice St. Clair. Bryan then gently knocks Jean's wife unconscious so she won't feel the pain. After that, Bryan tries to sneak into Patrice St. Clair's residence. Once inside, he sees St. Clair entering a room and follows him, but eventually loses track of him. Bryan then disguises himself as a waiter and enters a room where the women are being auctioned. From there, Bryan is paired with a man named Oli, one of the bidders. Then Kim suddenly appears on stage as one of the girls being auctioned. Bryan immediately threatens Oli at gunpoint, forcing him to bid on Kim. After Kim is successfully bought for $500,000, Bryan and Oli walk out of the room. But as they reach the doorway, Bryan is suddenly struck from behind and knocked unconscious. When Bryan wakes up, he is tied up and hanging from a pipe by St. Clair. Bryan tells him that the last girl sold at the auction was his daughter. St. Clair replies that he is also a father who has a son and a daughter. He explains that this is a unique business, and in this business, there are no refunds. St. Clair then orders his men to kill Bryan quietly. After escaping, Bryan searches for Kim, who has been taken away by Lee. Bryan immediately chases after him, and the pursuit leads them all the way to a luxury yacht. When he finally finds her, Bryan sees Kim being held hostage by an older man named Rahman. Without hesitation, Bryan points his gun at Rahman and shoots him straight in the forehead. After Rahman is killed, Bryan finally manages to save Kim, and the two of them prepare to return home. When they arrive at the airport, Lenore and Stuart are already there waiting for them.
Shall we go?
A few days later, Bryan takes Kim to a special place. It turns out he wants to surprise her. Bryan brings her to the home of Shira, the famous singer who had offered Kim free vocal lessons. And with that, the film comes to an end. Okay guys, that was the storyline of the movie Taken. If there were any mistakes or unclear explanations, we apologize. That's all for today's video. Stay tuned for the next one.
The tiptoes on the bedroom floor, these quiet eyes are spinning in the dark.